All right then. So I will get to talking about a book that I read recently. In fact, this book I actually read in just one day, not one sitting. I guess like two, three sittings. But the whole day I just read this, and it's a really good book. I guess I'll give my honest reviews after I've given a summary, but I'm going to show you. It's called "The Courage to Be Disliked" by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. Okay. And so, well, I've got some notes I've written here. It's my second video that's really kind of scripted. Uh, but I will actually just give the main summaries and the main key points from this book because this book is quite. I think it goes into the philosophy of a lot of things and the psychology of a lot of things, and I believe that a lot of it can be hard to understand fully at times, but I believe that I can just tell you all the main bits and pieces you need to know. And so this is talking about, well, there's an idea called Adlerian psychology, which is contradicting the normal conventional Freudian psychology in that it, rather than having a cause and effect model, just like Freudian ideology has, for instance, an example of trauma is like the trauma, the event actually has like the negative event and the trauma assigned to it that causes the effect, which is, well, you have trauma and you don't do certain behavior because whenever you try to do certain behavior it will remind you of that cause, and that cause was definitely unpleasant. Whereas Adlerian psychology says that you actually have a goal, you have a goal in mind that you want to do, and you tend to back it up by emotions and by events, and as a result trauma is not necessarily real, trauma is fake, and this is quite controversial, especially in the psychology world. But taking this idea on, you can really develop, well, quite a bunch of things about yourself. Firstly, the fact that, well, people can fabricate emotions, and people can have a lot of self doubts on themselves because they fabricate emotions and they find something that suits them. Afterwards, that's the common goal. For instance, it gives an example of someone who's angry and obviously decide to shout. Freudian would say, well, the guy spilt the coffee or something, and as a result, the guy in anger, shouted. However, Adlerian psychology would say, no, you had an intention of letting out your frustration for other things. It just so happens that spilled coffee made you have the ability to shout and create this anger of emotion, create the emotion of anger, and as a result, you um, we create our emotions to back present goals, right? And whilst we have to agree that emotions are powerful, emotions don't necessarily have the power to control us. We can resist them, right? So in the book, it does mention the fact that you do feel angry, or like you do feel depressed. You feel the pains, especially with the shut in, and he just felt like cramps and whatnot when he wanted to go out. But he's choosing also to have those emotions, right? It's him choosing those emotions. You can choose your emotions, and well, it sounds weird. It's like, okay, how can I change my emotions? And it's simply by changing your lifestyle, your environment, and just trying to change your whole behavior as a whole. And that's something that we all have the willpower to do. And it says actually the courage to do this. And it uses the word courage because a lot of the times when you're going to, oh, sorry, I've got a very, very runny nose for some reason. When you try to change yourself, you will oftentimes be faced with a sort of anxiety of like, oh no, what's going to happen next? As a result, you're scared to do it. A lot of people can crumble under that pressure of that fear, and as a result, they just revert back to their own lifestyles. That's why they say, if I was like this person, I'd be better, right? Which means that you don't like being yourself, and as a result, well, you just don't like yourself because you find that conventional for you. You have other insecurities or like other major problems that you could address, but you're deciding it to cover by certain personality that you have. For instance, it mentioned here that a woman who really just wanted to be liked by a certain guy who she wanted to marry, she had her own insecurity of her blushing problem, and she came to the philosopher for the blushing problems. But as you know, the blushing problems are her own insecurity, but it's not the reason, the main reason why she's self-conscious about it. There's always a hidden problem that you can address, and it talks about like these ideas of inferiority complexes, the inferiority and superiority feelings and complexes. And really, what Adler says and what this book tries to convey is that feeling inferior can be good and it's normal if used properly. So for instance, let's say, oh, I'm very skinny or I'm very fat. Hence, well, that's your inferiority complex because other people in comparison are skinnier or fatter or like healthier, and you say, okay, as a result, I will improve myself to get there, to be there. That's good. However, saying, oh, I'm short, hence I will never get girls, for instance, that's a really common one. That's not true, and also that's a very, very bad inferiority complex. Superiority complexes are also then, as a result, trying to show that you really actually have inferiority complexes because you're showing out to improve your own self-esteem, your ego, you're degrading others, and that's not how you work. Okay, so now that's done as well. We have to talk about interpersonal problems, and it says that most non-physical problems, meaning like if it's not an illness, an actual physical illness, the problem really is an interpersonal relations one. For instance, will this person like me? What will this person think if I'm doing this task or that task? You're essentially being worried about others, or you have conflict with other people more times than yourself. And it goes as far to say that if you were solitary, if you were alone, you would not have any problems. And the reason for why a lot of people have interpersonal problems is because there's an intrusion of the tasks that the person has to do. For instance, it gives an example of a child who's doing homework. That's his task. The parent's task should not then be to enforce or make him do the homework because that is his task. But by the parents forcing him to do the homework rather than him choosing to do it, it creates conflict and the child is more likely to rebel. And that's why the idea of just punishing bad behavior and rewarding good behavior, how it is done now, where it's just done very, very commonly, that is very, very bad. Rather, encouragement should be something. Rather than telling the child, do your homework, tell the child, if when you're doing homework, right, just tell me and we could help. We could go over it together. If you need any help, I'm here. Those types of encouraging words. They also is something that Dale Carnegie says also is a very, very good way of motivating and increasing morale and increasing productivity in people you want to. How to influence people and win friends. Well, make friends and influence people. And, well, just like that, people have their tasks and you have your task. So your task really should just be to not make people dislike you, but focus on your actions and your thoughts. That's your tasks. That's your two main tasks. Others' tasks, and as a result, you don't need to worry about them, are what's your opinion, what's their opinion on you. So they will worry about you. They'll think, oh, what's my opinion on this person? That is their task. You don't need to think about it. And obviously, their tasks that they have to do, their actions and stuff. And as a result, you should really focus on yourself. Another thing that it mentions about is jealousy. Or well, not only jealousy, but it's like self comparison to others. And it tells you that, well, other people have their own tasks and their environments and their different subjectivities. Hence, you are not the same. It's not really that you're. All right, sorry. Let me just go back to the point. Something happened. Okay, so the point I was trying to make, actually, and I'll quickly give it, is the fact that, well, we say life's a competition. However, this book says it isn't. So, it's like which one's right and which one's wrong. It's quite conflicting on that. And so that's why I don't necessarily agree in this book a lot. I think there's also some things that you can take useful on it and some things you can't. However, this book, it says really just focus on yourself. Focus in on improving yourself, because yourself has essentially similar environments and similar circumstances. You don't fully change. It's so similar that you can call it the same. That being said, if like even twins, they're not the same person. Hence, they actually have different environments and different circumstances, such that they can't worry about each other, can't be like comparing yourself to each other. And what really happens is that as a result of these two ideas, you don't need to compare yourself to others. That's why I've actually stopped comparing my to others for about almost a year. The last time I did it was like a really bad thing, but I'm glad I don't do it anymore. And really, you've got life as a competition, but life's a very unique competition. This is something I addressed in my previous video. Life's a special competition in that the strategy to actually excel in life is not to see everyone as your competitors, is to see others as your comrades. So you celebrate with them, you win with them. Their win is your win, and your win is their win. When the times are good, you celebrate with them, and you're not jealous. And when the times are bad for them and for yourself, you provide a helping hand, or they provide a helping hand. That's the way it works. And by comparing yourself to others, essentially what you do is you're actually molding yourself to how others want to be molded as. You're essentially giving control of your life to others, because you're comparing yourself to others. You're not really doing stuff how you want to do. You're doing it based on what others are doing. And that's not a good way to live. In fact, it says that freedom is the courage to be disliked. And it's the courage essentially to be unconventional. Courage enough that you don't necessarily have to compare yourself to others. You don't compare yourself to others. I don't compare myself to anyone else, because I only compare myself to myself. And I believe everyone should just compare themselves to each other, to their former self. If they're better than their former self, it will be well. That being said, also, that I've noticed when I improved on myself and myself only, and I didn't care about like trying to one up others, because I know if I can one up myself, that's good, and it's still positive. I will, most times I'll later notice when I'm, like once you're climbing up the mountain, you actually see the mountain. You look at all the people who are actually still climbing the mountain. You're like, oh damn, by not focusing on others, I've actually gotten more things done. Yeah, that's one thing that I really learned from this. I'm looking actually at my notes. The thing is, I don't like go over them before, because I did go over them, but I don't know why. I just forget. Oh, another thing. Others succeeding doesn't mean that you will not win. So that's something that I know a lot of people think, and that's why they're jealous when other persons get promotions and whatnot. They succeeded, maybe earlier, maybe later, or maybe in greater magnitudes. Does that then mean that you will not succeed in life? Of course not. That's not how it works. You think that this is a win-lose situation. However, life is a that's why life's a unique competition, and that's why people don't really see it as a competition a lot of the times, unless they have to be told about it in a natural selection and whatnot. The fact is, life's a particular competition where there's win-lose situations, very rarely, but actually there's a lot of win-win situations. Some of them win-lose situations are actually win-win situations in the greater scheme of things. So taking that idea on board, and the fact that if you compare yourself to others, you're going to be molding yourself based on what other people think. You're not going to be molding yourself based on what you think you should do. That's why I stop comparing myself to others. I don't compare anyone else to anyone else. And I don't have any like bad intentions with anyone, like jealousy or anything. That's something I think I'm incapable of having now. And if you when you get into self improvement and you just focus on yourself, you will achieve your results. Another thing it tells you actually is that, well, if you win and others lose, then who will you truly celebrate with? If you have other people who can celebrate with you, that's good. When other people win, you celebrate with them. Now, if you're not celebrating what other people are celebrating, when you actually get your chance and you want to celebrate with others, it's not going to happen. So, overall, that's basically the summaries I got. To be honest, this book, I'm going to give it out of 5 stars, 3.5. 3.5. So, this is a book that is harder to read than other books I have read, as in, like, the true messages take a while to fully understand, or like we have to read over again. Also, I mean, it's a very unique book in that it has like a conversation style book, and it definitely has good ideas. Obviously, some ideas are not, you know, accepted or very controversial. However, it does use those models to then frame what you should do. Like, you can change. Anyone can change. You don't have just because you had something in the past doesn't dictate who you are now. Who you are in the present dictates who you are now, and you should always make the best decisions that you can for the wider community and for yourself. That's going to be beneficial to you. That's basically the whole purpose of this book. And in fact, rather than me like I've read the whole book. However, I didn't fully understand it, so I actually had to watch YouTube videos. As a result, I don't think it's a book that I I'd say that if you really really care about how others perceive you and all that stuff, you're very self conscious on that, which I'm not now anymore because of this book and obviously other things. Read this book. Read this book really. Otherwise, yeah, thank you for watching this video. I'm going to try improving my video qualities and like improve how I'm saying and stuff. But you know, it's my time to obviously self improve on these videos. So see ya. Bye.